somebody decides to ask a million questions.
I can be checking regularly if you want as well.
Well, if you are offering to help, I am not gonna say no.
Okay. Good.
Okay, not gonna say no. Well, here's a direct link to it in case you don't have it for whatever the reason. So nobody's running around asking questions yet, but but anyway, it looks like we're live. Yay. Okay, cool. Sorry, thank you for helping me out with that, friend. I hate it when technology doesn't work easily. Okay, cool. Well, welcome to everyone who's joining us today. Apologies for running a few minutes late. I was having some technical issues, but thankfully Fran was able to help me out. And I see we have, Akshat. I didn't know he was still alive. You know, I had theories, but I am glad to know you. It's good to see you alive. Is that really you or is that just a robot?
No, it's finally me after around 3 months, I think.
I wasn't sure you were going to make it out of there alive, Akshat. Didn't seem like it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I had my intern in the Amazon and it actually completed in the first week of July only. So yeah, after that I had to be back for that GSOC mentorship, and then that's going fine for it.
Well, thank you for joining us today. It's cool to see another familiar face. And I see Adia joined us. I think he was just starting to meet Fran, and I'm sorry that I accidentally interrupted you. Do you want to introduce yourself, Adia, now that we're live and I'm not freaking out?
Yeah, so I'm a final year computer science student, and I came across async API at the beginning of this year, and I started contributing. I sort of wanted to be a part of GSOT at async API, and I applied, and I failed. And eventually, I asked Alejandra for feedback, and she gave me really good feedback. And then I worked more on my proposal, and I contributed a bit more. And eventually, I got into the async API mentorship program for 2023. So yeah, that's me.
And welcome, Aya. So really glad to see you today in the call. Lucas is unable to join us today. And I don't think Sergio is joining us probably, so it'll definitely be a little bit quieter today. Now that said, I'm kind of excited about the quiet because what I had in mind was I would like to, unless Adia, who is currently the only contributor writer besides me on the call, but if Adia doesn't have a specific Spec 3 doc question that he wants to ask, then what I was wanting to do was I want to use this call to also like walk us through the current open issues in Spec 3 so that we can actually have a stream where we explain like, you know, what's going on and what's missing. I know that a lot of folks are still getting familiar with the differences between Spec 3 and Spec 2, and a lot of our writers are confused because out there, as far as what's live, whatever is live is only relevant to V2. And we have 3 resources, as you folks know, for, you know, the release guide and migration notes and things like that. But other than those 3 resources, there's really not a lot out there. So I do want to use some of this time to kind of like, I guess, do a open source version of like, well, not really sprint planning, but like at least like walk through the issues. I've had quite a few people reach out to me in DM and say, I want to help with Spec 3 docs, but you know, what's going on? What do you need? So I think it'd be useful to also have like a video that I can shoot their way with an update on stuff that's going on. But before I do that, and I see that Joy also has joined the call, and lovely Maya and Mr. Animesh, who's been very excited in documentation reviews lately. Before I start walking us through open issues and discussing things, do you have a specific question you would like help with first for your docs, Joy or Adia?
Not right now, no.
How about you, Joy?
Not now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You guys are just onboarding, so it's like literally the quiet time before the horror begins. I mean, the fun begins. Right? It's all fun. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna start screen sharing then, and you folks can let me know if you can see my screen okay. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So what's going on in Spec 3? All right. So for folks who have been wanting to get involved, but felt really lost and confused about where to start or understanding the organization of how we are dividing up the task for Spec 3 changes, I'm just going to start from the very beginning and walk you through what to do as a contributor who wants to start working with Spec 3 docs. So here, notice that I'm just in Async API website issues, and I am going to reply to the thread that Fran started in our docs channel with important links or things that I may be going to. Fran, if you could post this link as well in our YouTube channel, I would really appreciate that. And so everyone can see here that I have taken up all the real estate. I have pinned only docs issues to the top. You may or may not know, there is a 3 limitation, like a 3-item limitation of what you can pin. So docs has taken over. Folks that are not as familiar with what's going on in the docs roadmap. So the 2 items here on the right, create 100 level interactive learning path, as well as cover Async API document sections in detail. So these are 2 epics that are specifically related and only for the Google Season of Docs group. So this is a closed epic issue that only Google Season of Docs people are working on. This is the epic issue for overall changes to the docs related to Spec 3. So this is where we want to go. And so you can imagine that's why I pinned it, so that it'll be very easy for anyone to find and get started. All right, so what's going on with Spec 3? Do keep in mind, and I'm going to open our docs right now, well, the live docs anyway. We have finally, definitely have a lot more content than we had, a year ago. That said, essentially everything we have here, all this great content that we built thanks to Google Season of Docs 2022, a lot of it is essentially outdated because it's really based on how V2 works. So that's why when we go over here to the epic issue and we look at the new doc tasks, initially we were thinking that we might want to add a lot of specific docs for any new features that Spec 3 brings. And so you see here that originally the idea was, okay, well, let's document how request reply works in V3. Oh, right, just pub sub confusion, like has anything changed in that? Well, let's document this too. But then as time went on, we realized that this wasn't enough because this didn't really account for the current live docs that I just mentioned are, out of date. So then I don't think Sergio did this. I think it was just Jonas. But then Jonas ended up creating a very, very, he made a very, what's the word in English? Detailed to-do list of every single piece in the docs that was now wrong that needed to be fixed. And he also made a list of new items that are not there yet that we need to add. And then he went the next step and he also created the issues. So, we love him because that's helpful, right? So what I would do is, because I believe he created all of these issues, so I think it'll be easy if you search by author and the label docs, area docs. So I do think that this filter will be the easiest one for you to immediately see. And here you can see already V3, V3, V3. So all of this good stuff. I'm going to share this link as well. So these are ready for pickup. Now, granted, the folks in the call are mostly writers that are already in the program, like the mentorship program. So, this is not really something for them to be picking up because right now they have plenty of fun work to do. I don't know that they're dying to do lots of extra work for free right now. So this is essentially really open and available for anyone in the community. This is not a special project, it's not like Google Seats in the Docs or the mentorship program. Like literally anyone can pick these up, anyone can contribute. If you feel confused and where to start, the first thing I would recommend is, and I know that I shared this with, I've shared this before, but I'm going to share it again in today's stream. And so these are the top 3 resources that any contributor writer will need to be successful in picking up a new Spec 3 docs issue. So yes, we do have currently live in our docs. Well, no, actually, this is V3. This is a temporary website that we have. So here you can see some updates about what the new specification brings. Then we have very detailed release notes and a migration guide. So if you haven't read these 3 items and really studied them, this is definitely the first thing you need to do. So what do we have open? What do we need help with? Well, for folks who are newer, you may or may not be familiar with our content buckets, our information architecture for our documentation site. Currently, we utilize the Ataxis framework, which is used across broadly many tech projects and organizations. So if you haven't looked at this yet, you're going to want to take a look at it. So essentially, this proposes a way of classifying your content, and this particular framework proposes 4 content buckets to start. Now, I personally think, and I know that many writers share this, there's no one size fits all, right? Every project is unique in its own way. So for this project, I did identify that we needed more content buckets than the 4 that are initially proposed by the Ataxis framework. As you folks may know, Async API has also a tool ecosystem, which we can see right here, these 6 tools to start. So in our case, it really did make sense to have an extra tools content bucket. And then community content bucket is for community contribution related questions, like getting started, your onboarding guide as a writer, things like that. Guides are for troubleshooting, advanced case scenarios. Tutorials are beginner processes, taking you step by step from point A to point B. So what we're looking at here involves majorly updating the content in the content buckets of guides, tutorials, and concepts. I am sure we might have something to change in tools as well, but right now the big changes are really going to be needed in specifically these 3 content buckets. So it's helpful to understand the 3 main areas in which we are bringing in changes to the docs for sure. And then let's just click on the first one to kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So here we see that we do have currently a guide in our documentation for message validation. How do you validate messages in Async API? Well, there are different ways to validate messages, and here's the guide. But of course, this is now outdated. And here we see that Jonas actually wrote a code snippet for us that's up to date so that we can, improve the outdated code snippets that the current tutorial has. And we see also that he did a really great job of outlining the main changes that need to happen to update this document. So what do we need? We need to add this file because essentially Jonas is doing this thing where he's going to delete all the documentation files that are now outdated. And then in our feature branch, we will start adding the new, now corrected, updated docs. So because there's a deletion step in this process, in this workflow, you'll notice that Jonas is making sure to remind us, do not forget that we need to actually add this file again because we've deleted it. So this is important. And then adapting the document, I think he meant code snippet. So it looks like he forgot the word code there. You get what he means. And then the text. So yes, so here is where you, the writer contributor, will have to spend a little bit more time. You're going to want to, after you have studied these resources that will help you better identify outdated information in our docs, then you can, go back to, to your issue, to the live document, and you're going to really need to read it very carefully. And when you start coming across terms that you might notice, oh, wait a minute, I was just reading about this, in the migration guide. Oh, yeah, this is different. Make sure as a technical writer that you start writing notes of what you think are the points in the text that are now wrong that you need to fix. And before you even start writing your draft, you're going to want to make sure that that outline of points of things that you think you need to fix, first get confirmation from an engineer contributor that your technical understanding is correct. Because as I always say, if you, go straight to writing immediately, you might feel more proactive because, I'm so independent. I'm doing this on my own. I didn't even bother an engineer. But the truth is, technical writing processes, they're a little bit different. And so in technical writing, we already know that we want to avoid wasting time writing drafts that are incorrect. So don't write a draft until you're sure that your technical understanding is accurate. So this is one of those moments where either you can write your specific questions out, and you can either, drop your question in the docs channel and, tag a few engineer contributors. Like I would definitely bother Lucas and Fran and Sergio and Jonas, whether he wants to or not. Too bad, we volunteered you. You don't have a choice. Make sure that you're CCing them when you're posting on Slack your specific question. Now, here's something that's specific to writers. When you're writing, you need to really, really dig deep to identify your specific points and questions that you have in the document piece that you are writing. It's very hard to write a good document if you're very vague about what your questions are and what your points are. Essentially, if you don't know clearly what your questions are, you will not be successful in writing an accurate doc that meets the goals for that project. So you always want to make sure as a writer that you first take time to research, study, and think, okay, what am I confused about? Specifically, what is my question here? And then when you meet with an engineer contributor, you will have effective, communication, and you will be able to effectively get answers to any blockers that you might have. So, okay, so you've already picked up this sample issue. You already made sure to note the points that need to be updated, thanks to Jonas, who did a really good job here. And then don't forget, all of this is being done on a feature branch. So this is definitely different than usual workflow for smaller things. A smaller thing, you just open a new branch and you base it off main master. But V3 changes is a huge project. And so with huge projects come epic issues. And in this case, feature branches. So very important. Please remember that if you're picking up one of these, you want to make sure that you are basing your change on the feature branch, which for this, we're using the feature branch called Next Major Spec. And you need to target that in your PR. If you have any questions, like seriously, don't be shy. Reach out to us and ask in docs or DM us, one of us individually. Like seriously, everyone so far, myself included, has made a mistake already in this. So there'll be plenty of people who made this mistake. It can help you out if you get confused about how to use the feature branch. So there you have it. Like you've gone through the process. We have identified the core issues that we need to fix. And we've discussed the process about how to get started. And, eventually, when you finish writing your first draft, you will need for sure, again, another engineer contributor. So similar to what I've been, advising my writers in the GSOD group and the mentorship group, even as a regular contributor, you do want to start forming those important relationships with engineer contributors. They are, in this case, one of your stakeholders. They are one of the subject matter experts in this area that you are writing. So definitely are going to need to, make those relationships person to person, because unfortunately right now, there's nothing out there live really there's not enough information and documentation published live for you to do most of your work on. So right now we do need to, work with the engineers. And as far as like how to pick something up and how to get started, if you're unsure, like, can I just pick up this issue, Alejandra? Like, how does that work? So I try to keep it pretty simple. If you have already contributed to the docs before, and so you're already kind of like a returning contributor, then, just drop a comment and say, hey, Alejandra, I'd like to pick this up, and, we can assign it to you, no problem. But if this is your first time contributing and you're just like new overall as a contributor to documentation in the same KPI, then please go ahead and leave a comment, just, letting me know like, hey, I'm new, but I want to start contributing to the docs. And then please go ahead and make sure you also join our Slack workspace. And, just go ahead and, DM me directly and be like, yo, Alejandra, I commented here and, please help me, like, share the link of what you're talking about. Please make my life easy. And just like be like, yo, Alejandro, I saw you talking about this issue. I left a comment. I'm a new contributor. Can you help me get started? So for all new docs contributors, I have a few onboarding steps to help them get situated and successful. So just make sure that you're DMing me if you're a new contributor so I can get you set up for success. All right. So as you can see, the process is very simple. It's not hard. And we have a lot of great content here to work with. So that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to share. I've had a lot of people asking me this, so I thought it'd be nice to go through it. Does anybody have any, I don't know, amazing questions or creative comments they want to add? Oh man, I bored you that much, huh? Like I think I even see Franz snoring over there. Like he's like even like falling. Yeah, you say no now, but I heard the snore. Just kidding. See, it's like I try my best.
Are you talking to me? Who are you?
What's your name again? Oh yeah, like that one time I was in a call with Lucas and I meant to ask him, what's your email again? But instead I asked him, what's your name again? And I was like, oh my God, oh, how embarrassing. Okay, cool. So Samir, I'm actually really excited to see you join us again and see your beautiful face here with us today. What brings you to the Spec 3 Docs meeting? Is there any questions or thoughts you have in mind I can help with?
I'm just curious. And also Fran is snoring, so this is why I'm here.
So
And
someone needs to take care of this. While I'm
Exactly.
snoring, he will be taking notes.
No, Fran is going to holiday, so if someone need help, if there is a general question about APIs, I can help. Okay, so.
Oh, thank you, Samir. So are you saying that our writers can also reach out to you for their Spec 3 questions if they get blocked?
Depending on which question. So I'm still new to the async 3.0. I'm coming from the classical API world, like REST, but I can answer what I can, or I can also link you guys with Jonas or Sergio to ask any specific question.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I would like to add that, like, if Samir, the cool thing here is that if Samir doesn't have the answer, he for sure has or can immediately ping someone who will know the answer or who will be able to help you. So use him also as a way to, as a dispatcher, right? He can dispatch you to different people depending on the question you have. So yeah, can be helpful as well sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, Samir, you cannot go back now. So I want you to remember your life before and then what it's going to be like moving forward.
I'm locked.
Or like, aren't you in Germany, I think? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm based in Nuremberg.
Okay, yeah. So you're in Germany. So even if you wanted to, you're stuck with us for at least 4, 5, 6 months. Isn't it that the way the employee contracts work?
Exactly.
So yay, Germany! Yay! Okay, cool. So for folks who are never met Samir before, I've made sure to add him to our docs channel and I've tagged him. So now you know that Samir is another friendly face that you can reach out to. And another good note for the writers is Samir also manages, right? Several engineers that work for Async API, but technically we get paid by Postman. So since Samir is a boss, he can tell people what to do. So if engineers are avoiding you, Samir can be like, yo, stop avoiding the writers. I'm your boss. Well, he probably won't say it that way, but you get the idea. Okay, cool. All right. Do we have any I don't know, any thoughts or anything that anybody wants to add? Okay, so I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I did kind of think it might be a shorter meeting. And I actually think that's good because it means that we're being successful in forming these relationships. And I have a lot of writers reaching out to me offline and saying, hey, I was able to have a call with Fran or with Luca, with Sergio, yada, yada. So very excited because a short meeting is always good news. It means we're accomplishing our goals. If anyone doesn't have any more thoughts, like I'm just going to join. I was just thinking we could end the stream early because I covered whatever we needed to mention, unless somebody disagrees.
I see.
Yay!
Animesh is a fan of Adidas.
Oh, he is? What do you mean?
Uh,
Sure.
his avatar.
I didn't even notice that. He said, no, sir.
No. Okay.
Samir.
Samir, you gotta explain your past.
Yeah, I was working for Adidas, by the way, so for 5 years. So I'm also a big fan of Adidas.
Mr. Animesh, can you please explain? He said he designed it himself when he was in 9th.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Cool.
Wait, Animesh, what's the 9th standard? What does that mean?
I think you mean school.
Like 9th grade?
9th grade.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Animesh, you are allowed to speak. It is not 9th grade. Okay. You're allowed to speak, dude. It's like casual. It's just us. I mean, I know that, you know, Arya and Fran are kind of scary looking, but the rest of us are pretty friendly to look at. Okay, background noise. Okay, fine. We'll let you go this one time. All right, cool. Well, it sounds like everybody's excited to get 27 minutes back for their life. And I am as well, because I have 3 dogs, so there's always something to clean. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you all in the next meeting.
See you.